What's going on, my fellow Kino Lord? So I just got out of a screening for The Crow, which stars Bill Skarsgård and FKA Twigs. Now, the reason why I went to go see this movie, which is for quite a few reasons, but I think the main reason is because of the fact that my curiosity just kind of killed me. Like, this movie has been getting shat all over. Like, critics and people alike, fans alike, have been shitting all over this fucking movie. And I'm curious to see exactly why that is. Like, I've heard rumors as to why that is, but ultimately, I was thinking, like, is it just because people, like, is it just the purists and the critics that are just kind of like, no Crow remake should ever exist, therefore I'm gonna shit all over this movie regardless if it's good or not? Because I do agree with that sentiment. I agree that this movie should not have been remade. Even if it's like an okay movie, it should not have been remade. I just think, considering the legacy of the original, I mean, obviously with what happened with Brandon Lee on set, the absolute fucking tragedy that happened to him, and again, the legacy that has lived on after that point, and just the overall fandom and appreciation for the original. Why does this movie exist? I can't even think of any good reason why this movie should have been remade. No, it's not like the fans were asking for it. No one was asking for it, so why remake it? But I do think that I am able to put like all that bias aside and just see for myself if this movie if this movie standalone is quality or not. And I rewatched the original Crow a few days ago, and I'm glad I did that, because it kind of helps me, it kind of gives me perspective onto why people like the original so much, and gave me proper perspective when watching this movie as well. Again, I'm able to detach myself from the original and just see if it's a good movie, but it helped me understand what made the original so special and why this one has been getting so much hate. And yeah, after watching The Crow, I can easily say, with every ounce of conviction in my heart, that all the hatred for this movie is completely justified and warranted. There's so much wrong with this. It's hard to even know where to begin. Honestly, like, I can't even really think of that many things about this movie that are even halfway decent. Because let's just take everything about the original Crow. Okay, let's just put all that aside for a second. I'll compare and contrast later. But right now, let's just talk about this movie like as a standalone movie. Let's say hypothetically this movie isn't called The Crow, it's called something else, and we're watching it for what it is. Even on that basis, it's fucking bad. And the fact that it's called The Crow and is advertising itself as a remake or a reboot or whatever the fuck makes it even worse. Because, again, as a standalone movie, there's so many problems with it. Like, whether it be the fucking horrible dialogue that's woven throughout this film that is so expositional and unnecessarily on the nose and just like cringy, edgy. It is just, and also just the fucking character writing and the villain character of this movie, all of it is just bad. Especially the villain character. Like, I could not stand the writing behind his villain character. It was just so fucking lazy. The villain in this movie has like zero fucking backstory. And he has like demonic powers in this movie because we got some fucko character explain to us how he got it for like a split second. And whatever, it explains to us that he made some deal with the devil for a second, and that's how he has that, and that's fucking it. We get like nothing with this villain character, absolutely fucking nothing. Except that he's just really a piece of shit, and that's it. We get nothing besides that. And it just makes it so fucking boring and uninvesting. And again, like, even without the original Crow, which I promise I'll start comparing and contrasting soon, there's like no fucking personality within the style of this movie. It's so like boringly traditional and boringly conventional that it's painful. Like, there was halfway through this movie I kind of wanted to walk out because of just how uninspired and uncreative it is. And again, on its own, it's bad. But when comparing it to the original Crow, it gets even fucking worse. Because everything that's bad with this movie, the Crow, like, is the opposite of what the Crow did. Like, everything that makes the Crow good is not present in this movie at all. And I'm not even like the biggest diehard Crow fan. Like, I like The Crow. I think it's a pretty good movie. But I'm not like an obsessed fanatic. I'm not like super in love with it. But I think it's pretty good. And I could see why people really love it. But even then, like, this makes The Crow look like Citizen Kane. The original, obviously. Like, the thing is with the original Crow, you have so much about it that I think is appealing. I think the main one being, at least for me, this is what I really liked about the original Crow, is that you have this incredibly rustic and grimy and gothic aesthetic to its world and to its city. Like, they did like an excellent job with the production design, and again, like, making it feel immersive and real, and just like, again, has almost like this like Gotham-like feel to it, but in this very rustic and gothic way. And that is not present at all in the remake. Like, it is nothing, like, there is aesthetically nothing to this movie. Even like beyond the boring camera work and the boring direction and color grading and just beyond all that, there's nothing like in terms of production design that is pleasing or immersive at all. It just feels so fucking tacked on and bland. And it's that much easier to shit on it when you compare it to the original Crow, because that's something that the original Crow exceeds in. You really feel some authenticity within its otherwise kind of cartoony world. And again, like, even beyond that, I think what's even funnier about this film is the fact that in the original Crow, we basically spend zero time with the relationship between Brandon Lee's character and his love interest. We spend like zero like intimate time with them. Like, this movie just kind of throws us into the thick of it. And again, through stylistic presentation, in the original Crow, there's a lot of, like, creative stylistic editing choices, like this, through like flashes of imagery, through the color, that all we need to know is that him and his lover were brutally beaten, and his lover was raped and beaten to death. And again, it's through the presentation and the stylistic direction and the production design that makes us feel immersed and care about the tragedy and care about their relationship. We don't have to know anything about them really in the original Crow, and yet we give a shit. And what's so funny about that is that here with the remake of The Crow, we spend, like, I swear to God, it felt like almost half the movie trying to build this relationship between FKA Twigs and the main character, Eric, I think is his name. I don't even fucking remember. And we care so much less about them. And I think the biggest reason why that is because the presentation and the writing of them just feels so fucking bland and soulless. It's like a fucking like Dementor from Harry Potter came and just sucked the soul completely out of the Crow, and this is what we got. And yeah, that's like it's just sad that we spend so much time with them as characters, and yet I feel nothing. I feel absolutely nothing for him. Not to mention, like, the way that I think, like, thematically is all gone. Like, thematically of what made the Crow special here is fucking completely gone. Like, just the entire spirit of the Crow is fucking gone. Like, if you're gonna adapt a movie or adapt something from the source material, at least try to maintain the spirit of it all and what makes it special. Like, whatever I can do with whatever, some slight character changes, some narrative changes, playing around with the structure, I'm fine with all that shit. But the spirit of it is, like, completely fucking gone. Whether it's atmospherically or thematically, it's just gone. And I bring that up because in the original Crow, the tragedy of, you know, the main characters in this movie and the, you know, his love interest is that they are a victim of senseless violence in a chaotic and evil world. Here, it's like that whole concept and that whole theme is just out the fucking window and becomes just like some boring, normal Hollywood movie. To where it's like, oh, it's not the chaotic, senseless evil that is the tragedy of this. It's just because FKA Twigs, you know, got roped into something and she did something wrong and now she's rebelling against her whatever puppet master, and now the puppet master and his goons are out to get her and now they're running away from them. It's like so fucking, again, it's very like cardboard cut out. And like, why copy and paste so much tropes into a movie when you already have gold source material that you know works? So why, honestly, like this like, if you didn't call this movie The Crow, call it something else, and just tweaked around the whole Crow thing, you would never know that this movie was The Crow. You could say maybe it was inspired by it, and I think that's, again, that is a huge reason why people are relentless with this movie, because it does not justify its title one bit. They just straight up call it The Crow, which is so insulting. Like, if you called it whatever movie title, and then maybe like whatever, like asterisk Crow inspired or colon something from The Crow, then it'd be like, okay, I can live with it because at least you know. But they just call this movie like straight up The Crow. It's like exploiting an IP that they know has popularity, and it's fucking shameful, especially with, again, something like the original Crow and what happened to Brandon Lee and the legacy of the fandom that grew from it. It's fucking disgusting, in my opinion. But yeah, so thematically, it's like so stripped from it. Like, the spirit and the themes, I feel like, are just completely gone with this reboot, remake, refuck, whatever it is. And there's nothing here to appreciate. Like, there's really not, like, I can't even think of really anything to appreciate, because everything that made The Crow great is not even here. I can't even think of anything. Like, they try to use like that, like, late 80s and 90s soundtrack that they had in the original Crow in this movie, but here it feels so shoehorned and out of place, and it's like a vibe killer. Like, there's parts where there's like whatever, like, suspenseful score and atmosphere, and then there's like shoehorn a fucking, like, you know, some like alternative, like, 90s 80s music or something, and it just doesn't fucking fit, like, in the slightest, because you don't have the production design to match it. You don't have the fucking, like, you don't have the fucking, like, aesthetic at all to match it. You don't have, like, the delicate presentation to match it in any way. So it just feels like you're just forcing it in there to, like, in hopes that some people will be pleased that you put it in there. But I don't know. This movie it's just bad. Like, I can't. Only thing I could say is, like, in the third act, we get, like, a kind of cool, like, you know, outright gory, bloody action sequence. But it's like, okay, I guess that was kind of cool to see. Who cares? Like, okay, thanks for, like, visually giving me, like, some brutality, but that's it. That's not even why most people even like The Crow. So why even give us the excessive gore? Even though, although kind of fun to watch, why even give us that excess when The Crow doesn't even, like, Yeah, there's violence in The Crow, there's blood in the Crow, but like that's not why people like it really. Like there's a lot of other reasons people like The Crow that has nothing to do with like excessive gore, but this movie kind of goes out of its way to like have this balls out fucking action sequence filled with gore and violence, which again is like cool, I guess, but why? Like why? Like I don't understand why they went with that out of all things. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what more else I could say. Again, like even removing The Crow out of this, which yes, the fact that The Crow is attached to this, people are gonna shit on it more, and they should. They absolutely should. But even with that gone from it, it's just a boring, forgettable movie that maybe people wouldn't shit on as much, but they really wouldn't like it. They would, again, watch it, forget about it, move on with their lives, and that's it. And Bill Skarsgård in this movie also felt like he was just kind of phoning it in for a lot of the time. I feel like he just knew this movie was fucking crap and was just doing whatever. I don't know, but I don't know, man. I don't even know if I want to talk about this fucking movie anymore. It was just very boring. Couldn't wait for it to be over. Hard to see that much quality in it. I don't know. I just didn't fucking like it, man. I didn't. And it's not a hot take. A lot of people fucking are saying that, and they're right. This movie's just fucking bad. Again, there's like so much about what made the original special that's just fucking not here. And I don't even know why they even call, again, like such a piece of shit move to call this movie The Crow. The audacity to be like, yeah, this movie's The fucking Crow. Like, really? That is just like, you got no fucking respect at all to do that. Oh, one other thing I fucking hated about this movie. I gotta talk about it. I'm glad I didn't end the video yet. One thing I fucking hated about this movie is that in the original Crow, the whole concept of The Crow is like, you know, we don't get much within, like, it just, the crow itself, the animal, the crow, is this ambiguous supernatural figure that it's able to bring someone who has lived through a horrible tragedy and died through a horrible tragedy back to life to seek revenge. That is, in a nutshell, like the concept of it, but it's ambiguous. Like, it's just very simple. Here, the whole crow thing, like, it tries to go further into this realm. Like, once our main character dies, we go into this fucking, like, realm where all these crows are at. That looks like a fucking, like, abandoned, like, New York subway station or some shit. And then we get this old, like, third-rate Morgan Freeman-looking dude who is explaining, I guess he's, like, the god of purgatory or crow purgatory or whatever it is. And it's adding so much fucking extra lore where we don't need it, and you're killing the supernatural. You're killing the power of the supernatural ambiguity that element brought to the art form and to that source material. And what makes it even worse is that this purgatory god fucking guy, the only thing that he does is in the whole movie is just spoon feed exposition. Like, he's just there to, like, every now and again when our main character goes back to this purgatory area, he's just there to explain shit that our main character doesn't understand. He's just like, oh yeah, that happened because you doubted your love for FKA Twigs. Even though, like, we already knew that. You explained that already one time. So when it happens, the audience can infer, like, oh, that's what happened. But no, we have to have a whole scene where he goes back to purgatory, and this fucking guy's explaining to him what's happening to him. And it's such a fucking drag. Like, it's a horrible thing in this movie. This whole movie feels like a fucking drag. When it comes to pacing, like, it just drags fucking ass, and it's never ending. Just really, really fucking boring. There's so many parts. Like, honestly, this movie could have been done, like, in 2.5 seconds. I don't really, like, this movie really, really tries hard to drag it out and keep dragging it out so it can be, like, whatever full-length movie time. But there's so much where I'm like, we just doesn't need to be dragged out. Like, there's no real sense to drag it out. Like, the bad guy's right there, just fucking kill him. The main villain's right there, just fucking kill him. Why are we dragging it out even more? So we can have, like, a stupid final boss moment in his house. But no, let's drag the runtime even more. And it's just, I don't know. This movie just felt like really uninspired, very uncreative. Very more, just like more of the blandest, more of the blandest Hollywood filmmaking that we've seen in a long time. And it's just fucking bad. It's just a bad movie. I would not, obviously, like, I wouldn't recommend this movie. Usually I tell people, you know, don't make my opinion deter you from going to watch it. You know, if you feel like you'd like it, go watch it, regardless if I say it sucks. This one, don't find out for yourself. Honestly, don't even fucking waste your time. It's not worth your curiosity. I honestly kind of put me in a bad mood after getting out of the theater. It's just not good. It's just not good in every single way. Like, it's hard to think of anything that's qualitative about it. It's just fucking boring and senseless and shameful in a lot of ways. Just a fucking soulless shell of a version of a movie that that resembles nothing of the original. Shouldn't have even been called The Crow. It's fuck. They only did that to get more money. It's fucked up. But anyway, yeah, that's all I'll say. Crow fucking sucks. Movie blows. Fucking hot bowl of dog ass water, and I'm gonna give it I'll give it a fucking 2 out of 10, I guess. I never want to see this movie ever again. I don't ever want to talk about it ever again. Hopefully nobody near me ever brings this fucking movie up, because it makes me angry. Movie make me angry. That's it. That's all I got to say about The Crow. If you really enjoyed this review, please give it a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.